Welcome everybody to the Wolfi community call. It is November 16th, 2022. We're going to go right into some updates going on with some packages. Jason, do you want to kick it off?
I've been sort of in my free time trying to get kube control packaged. It requires rsync, which requires popt and something else. And so, as always, packaging one thing turns into packaging 4 or 5 things. But I don't know, it's going pretty well. Here we go. I also sent a PR last week, I think, 2 weeks ago, to package Co and APKO and Melange, mostly because they're Go binaries and they should be easy. We decided to block that on APKO and Melange releases that are upcoming, and they're not urgent in any case. So if anybody wants those, we can unblock and do them, but whatever. These are but drops in the water compared to the Herculean efforts of James and Ariadne, who have packaged, while I packaged 3 things halfway, they each packaged like 30 things completely. So James has been in a role with Bazel and Jenkins and Postgres and probably 30 other things that those all depend on. Am I missing any other headline stuff, James?
No, I think those are the main ones. Yeah, it's been a great exercise actually going through all the dependencies and everything.
Yeah, and Ariadne is working on LLVM and Clang in service of Rust and in service of other hair tearing out things. Sounds like that's closer, at least, on the immediate radar.
Clang and LLVM are and like fully packaged at this point.
Awesome. Great.
Well, I suppose I'm not sure. I probably should mention Maven and Java actually.
No big deal. Maven, Java.
Yeah,
never heard
about
them.
those ones. Yes, so Maven and Java in there as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there any other ones I forgot, or ones that are on the immediate sort of future worth mentioning? I think Envoy was one you were thinking about, right? Because Bazel requires Envoy to build, and that's why we're doing Bazel.
Yeah, I think there was an experiment around some of that. I'm not sure. Well, I guess there's some common dependencies that I know Ariadne has been looking at as well. And I just this morning I started to look at LLD as well. I've got some config files there. I might push up what I've got. I'm actually not around tomorrow and Friday, but that was the last build was failing, but hopefully I can get that pushed up in the PR today.
If you can't, I can take a look at it and see what's going on.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. I got the 2 dependencies are working. Can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but yeah, I'll see as far as I can get, and I'll push up on it as far as everything that I've got.
Cool.
Aside from regular packaging stuff, I had a PR last week to do linting, and mainly that was because it always bites me that I update the YAML and then I don't update the makefile, and I made a thing to keep me from getting bit. We also this is a nice little dev OS. I forgot about but they're basically short links to our GitHub thing, etc. You can also do OS issues and stuff. If there's nothing else, it seems like there's an item for doing it live, setting up social and email lists. Are we doing it live?
We can.
Is it worth explaining just what's the context, I guess, on that one?
Yeah, so we actually were chatting just before this. We realized we had no way to talk to the world, and so we were asking people from ChainGuard to help us, and so we wanted to put a face on the internet. And then also the there's a wolfi.dev URL, and I don't know how to access that, but maybe we can have a wolfi.dev/calendar for the calendar and wolfi.dev/notes. Jason, do you know?
That's definitely possible. It will require some Terraform the current way it's done, but I don't mind.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind doing that. If there's 1 to 3 of them, that's fine. If there's going to be 20 or 30, we probably need a different way to do it. But notes and calendar seem useful.
What about instead putting it somewhere on GitHub, and then would that make it?
Yeah, if it was like.
Is it like set up to GitHub right now? Or?
Yeah, it literally just redirects. It replaces wolfi.dev in the URL with github.com/wolfi-dev.
So why don't we create a community repo, and then that's already works then?
Yeah, then it would be wolfi.dev/community/ main notes or whatever.
Okay.
I do have one update other than what's on the agenda because I forgot to add it. But I am working on enabling .NET. That's going to be happening within the next week or two. So that'll be hopefully interesting.
Awesome, yeah. When we talk about setting up social and email list for the Fediverse, does that mean running a Mastodon instance for wolfi.dev or joining a Mastodon instance as wolfi.dev?
Chris said that we could go ahead and create an account on Hackderm. So
does that make us I haven't read the corporate policy for Hackaderm. Does that make us a corporate entity or a open source entity or something else?
That is a great question, and she said we'll figure that out later. So
okay,
either way, it's fine.
In the background here, I did get wolfi.dev/community to link to the calendar. I can. So Adolfo actually already set this up a long time ago, 16 days ago. I just added this link to the calendar, and maybe we can add if we do set up social, links to mailing list, things like that. Happy to do that live. We do have some people on the call. If anyone has any questions, if you want to speak up now or in the chat, we can do that first, or we can start this, and then if we want to switch directions, that's fine. But
yes, sadly, this is not as exciting as our previous community call. But if people have questions about Wolfi, like why we are building a GNU Linux distribution that uses the same tools as Alpine or anything like that, I mean, we could certainly discuss that today, I guess. I don't know.
We should also put at least in the notes, share the document to Erica's 101 thing that happened today. That has a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that already out?
Well, she did it earlier today.
don't think the video is up yet. It was
Well, I
a-
mean, they did it live, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like actually up. And
If someone wants to try to find that um, in the background.
yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, you can just go and click watch replay, and
Do you want to just throw that link in Crowdcast?
I got it.
yeah, it's the Crowdcast one.
Okay. All right, let's get social with it. Who I'm sure we can get the name Wolfi. Any objections to that name? We don't have a mailing alias now. Do you think I'll be able to switch from my personal later? Ariadne? Or like
Yeah,
from my chain, from my company account?
let me see in mine if I can update my email, because I don't think you can. Oh, you can. You can update your email. You just go to preferences, account settings, and then you can do it. Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot of information on this. Okay, I'll do that. Gonna regret that.
Well, yeah, and then you have the thing, and then I guess there's like MOA or something that you can. Well,
MOA?
it's the cross poster that everybody uses. I don't know. Personally,
I'm waiting on that email. I'll wait a second longer.
we have all these people joining, and we're just discussing how to set up like the community communication channels. And
I mean, that's what we're doing though. Is there anything we want to talk about more specifically? I can do this in the background.
well, I mean, we could show the build system in action or something like that, maybe.
Oh no, a demo.
Go if you're gonna volunteer, do it.
It sounds like I'm going to be volunteered.
You're being voluntold. No,
I can do it.
If you're not
I just-
feeling it, then don't
Repeat
do
of
it.
last week.
I can do it. I just don't make any promises that it'll actually work. Well, let me try a couple things and get in the right context.
By the way, whilst you're doing that, there was an interesting, we can work out why the linting was failing on a PR this morning. It was a bit of a head scratch, and it was because of line endings. It was, I'll find out the PR number, but it was an interesting one because you just couldn't see what it was the same YAML. Let me see if I can grab it. But only in VS Code, in the bottom right, you can see LF or CRLF, and it was failing only when the file.
Interesting.
We can add. There is a way to force Git to use a specific type of line ending. So we could configure Git so that it enforces Unix style line endings for all files in the Wolfi OS repo.
Yeah, that might help.
I had that going even further than that. I had that PR to actually like YAML format everything consistently, which is just piping it through YQ, because YQ just has a formatting that would presumably fix that and also have us all standardize on one style. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think it fixed line endings also.
That would be cool, because I certainly noticed that VS Code sometimes formats my YAML files, the different tabs and spaces and various things, even though I've got config set, really has a mind of its own. So yeah, having some kind of setting around that would be good.
Yeah, that PR turned out to spin out into a larger conversation about whether everything is YAML or not, but it sounds like we're on a path to fix that. Anyway, let's do this demo before I lose my courage. So this is the DAG repo, wolfi.dev/DAG. And you can see that I have, did I run the daemon sets? No, I didn't. Weird. Okay. This is going to be an even worse demo than I thought, because I'm not never mind. I just won't do secrets. So this is a tool called DAG that originally started its life as a tool to generate SVGs of our dependencies. But after it did that, I made it also care about executing those things. So this is DAG running the Wolfi Bootstrap Stage 1 stuff. It bundles all the source up into an image and then starts a pod that executes that build and streams logs once it's done initializing, maybe.
Well, it usually takes a minute for it to.
Yeah, what's it doing? Oh, it's just pulling the JGuard SDK image. Okay, that's fine. That's an okay thing to do with its time. Usually when it initializes for more than a few seconds, something has gone wrong. But in this case, it's actually doing stuff, so that's good. There we go. And you see it running. This is all melange output on the cross bin utils package, etc., etc. You can, so this runs in a, I should have, it created this pod, which you can get here for now until that pod is disappeared forever. But you can see like it ran stuff in the pod. And then this just tailed the logs. So what you can also do is CPU 30 in RAM, bunch of RAM, and it will like run it in a pod of that size on a node of that size. If it has a node of that size, it should run considerably faster this way. What else does it do? If you have set up GKE workload identity, you can give it a bucket location or like a path inside bucket, and all the packages that it builds, it will upload to that GCS bucket and path when it's done, which is cool. It takes 10-ish minutes to build all of Bootstrap stage 1, so I'm not going to make you sit through it. The other thing that won't work right now is signing with a secret key in Cloud Secret Manager. This will fetch the secret from Secret Manager, mount it into a volume, and then use that to sign stuff. Oh, aside from the secret key, you can also do ARM64 Arch, which will run it on an ARM node in the cluster if you have one, which I do. This is how we're going to bootstrap ARM packages. Let me make sure this actually works. This is how we're going to bootstrap ARM packages, which I'm actively working on now. So, it's initializing because it has to pull that image again on a new node. Anyway, yeah, many of the chain guard folks have already seen this. I think I demoed this last week at some point, but this is roughly how we're going to start building packages in CI and in releases, and how the world will receive our packages once they're built. Yeah, there we go. See, it's running as ARch64 and doing all this stuff. Anyway, I have it working for Bootstrap Stage 1. I have a PR out to Bootstrap Stage 1 to use that in the GitHub Actions. And I guess stay tuned as I eat the rest of this Bootstrap stages and then the regular Wolfi OS repo. Happy to take questions or answer anything about how this works or how it could work in the future if anybody has any questions.
This is awesome, by the way. Totally love this. Everything you've done on this one, Jason. The work with ARM. So that's one of the observations with the Java stuff is that every now and again, about 2 out of 3, when I'm testing a Docker container locally and Docker desktop on my M1 Mac, we have to kill the container. It's not a great UX. And so Ariadne we were talking, thinking maybe it's something to do with the fact that we're using QEMU and these different combinations and double jitting the compiling for Java and things. So it's fair to say that once the ARM builds are there, then we will just be able to run natively on like Mac M1s, for example.
I believe so. I think I
That
would
is
not.
the goal.
I would not dream to speak definitively on any topic, but especially this. But that's the goal, is that these images would be sort of natively supported by M1 instead of requiring Docker Desktop's QEMU thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, but that's sort of the next big thing, aside from you and Ariadne packaging absolutely every damn thing, is to also package them on ARM. And then, once we've done it, there's some like saying that's like you do things 1 time, 2 times, and then N times. Once we've done it twice, the next is to, stamp these out for everything, whatever else we need. Hopefully.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
I'd love to learn more about people's use cases. I mean, obviously, running these on an M1 Mac is also my use case. That's also something that I've had trouble with. But I'd love to hear more use cases about folks using this, whether that's on like AWS Graviton instances or Raspberry Pis or IBM mainframes or whatever other architectures we can support. So, yeah.
Well, when it comes to ARM, one of the big questions that I have is what baseline should we require for like running our ARM packages? Because you can avoid so much drama by requiring ARM 8.2 that like a lot of the original like ARM V8 CPUs had like serious processor errata, like the Thunder X. So like, it's if we could require ARM 8.2, we could like avoid having to like use compiler flags to make
Yeah.
what we're compiling palatable to like ThunderX and things like that kill performance otherwise.
So yeah, you mentioned this maybe a week or so ago, and I didn't quite understand it, and I only a little bit understand it now. So maybe I will use this public venue to ask my dumbest questions. Does that mean, it sounds like that means when some package we are trying to package has a flag for support ARM 8.1 or 8 whatever, we just wouldn't pass that. We would require all packages to work for 8.2 and above, and that would
And
that's
we
where
would
we make that distinguishment.
that yes, but also like with C flags, you can have like -m arch equals ARM v8.2. Similarly, you can do like on x86, you can do like -m arch x86 64 generic v2, and now there's a x86 64 generic v3. But those are much faster than. I don't know that v4 exists yet. I think it's just v3, but there might be a v4 one now.
Is that something we would pipe through in a melange placeholder template thing, the way that we do the triplets today?
No, what we would probably do is have it populate the default environment with those specific compiler optimization C flags.
I see. And then if you need them in
They're
this
by default.
build, you would set them to that magical melange provided or Wolfi provided.
They would just be there basically.
Gotcha. Okay. And I assume that 8.2 is enough to support Graviton and GKE ARM nodes and sort of the x86, sorry, the 64-bit ARM stuff that people generally use in clouds. Is that 8.2 compatible and above or whatever?
So GKE is based on Ultra, which is definitely ARM v8.2. It's actually newer than that, I think. But the original AWS Graviton is just ARM v8.0. So it's based on Cortex A72, I want to say. And then Graviton 2 is based on Neoverse, which is a little bit newer. But I think N1 is still ARM v8.0. I think you have to have like Neoverse N2.
Okay, so if we said that Wolfi packages are not only support 8.2 and above, that would sort of exclude Graviton 1 users, but not Graviton 2 or 3 users, and we're happy with that. I'm personally happy with that, but that's the like decision we'd be making is Graviton 1 users upgrade and
and given that we are targeting like cloud native and edge computing use cases for Wolfi, I'm not that concerned about supporting ARM CPUs that are like 6 or 7 years old. I'm
mainly asking so that when someone asks us in 2 years why their Graviton 1 thing doesn't work, I can say it's because of an explicit decision we made that I understand. Okay,
exactly.
Great. Is there any other large users of ARM 8.0 that we should care about, or it's an old thing? It's an old enough thing that we don't need to care about it, basically.
I mean, containers on phones, like Trevor said, might be interesting, but I mean, there's not really a business case for it, so
Okay. I'm thank you for these answers. I when you said that the other day, I had no idea what any of it meant, and now I understand at least 30% of it. So that's on par for me. So great. Thank you.
I mean, regarding the Chinese ARM stuff, there's like this one Chinese ARM processor that I cannot remember the name. It's like called Phytium or something, but like you can't. I've never been able to get my hands on it, so I have no idea what capabilities it actually has. You know, they don't they are reluctant. It's the same thing with like the Loongarch stuff. Like they're very hesitant to actually send it outside of China. Like they'll talk about sending it, and then when it comes time to actually receive it, it never happens. And so Oracle Cloud is based on Ultra, which is Neoverse 2. So yeah, it's good enough for 8.2. Like Neoverse 2, I believe is ARM v9 or something.
I'm just checking. Azure is also using Ampere.
I think they all do, other than
Okay.
Amazon.
That's totally fine. Cool. Yeah, they chose what everyone else was using, and that benefits us greatly. So happy with that.
Yeah. Are there like any specific language runtimes that people are looking for that we should focus on? Like I said earlier, .NET is on the way, but if there is something like Elixir or well, good news. We have Java and we have Ruby already, so
Just actually, Trevor, from a build system on the Java related ones, would that be Maven? Would that be Gradle? Something?
So we're
Probably
using Maven for almost everything. Gradle, we have one project that's still stuck on Java 8, sadly.
We all have them. Okay, well, that's really interesting. So we probably, I think next week we should have. Well, actually, it'd be good to get some feedback on some of the packages actually that we have. So we've got Maven in there with different JDK, open JDKs, JDK 11 and 17 at the moment. So maybe we could get some. I'd love to kind of catch up with you, or maybe we can do an experiment in a future office hours and kind of go through some typical scenarios. We've tested with using Spring Boot and a couple of open source Java projects use Maven, but kind of more kind of scenarios and real world use cases would be really, really beneficial. So if you have anything there, will point us to a certain direction, and that'd be really grateful.
Yeah, sure thing.
well, is there anything else to announce? What about the communication channels that we were setting up before the build system got demonstrated?
We have a name on the internet now. We have Hackaderm/Wolfi. We already have 2 followers. We also have Twitter Wolfi_OS, which I'm currently trying to make a push only from Mastodon, but it's not working yet. So
Yeah.
What's the account name on Twitter? Sorry.
Wolfi_OS.
What is the account name on Hackaderm?
Just Wolfi.
Just Wolfi. Maybe I should have made them the same, but yeah, and I'm trying to set up some cross-post app I found. And
Yeah,
it hasn't worked yet, but
there's MOA that I believe is the one that everybody's using for that now.
okay. Well, assume that we'll be tweeting from the Hackaderm. So follow wherever you will. But and then I will make sure these credentials get into a safe place as well.
You can just tweet them out.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the Fediverse. You can actually, if you send credentials
It's like
over, it shows up as asterisks. So
It's like that GitHub Actions thing, like
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna get banned so fast.
All right.
Yeah, please don't let me into this account. I'm just the setup person.
All
So
right.
I'm trying to get started with Melange. I was last meeting. I was completely new by about how to run Wolfi, so I was able to set up a small proof of concept, so I can kind of build like an Alpine or a Wolfi image right now. But I cannot add my own packages. And the way that I was reading and trying to sniff around is that for me to build my own packages, I need to build them with Melange, then build the APK package, and that's how I'm going to incorporate that package within Wolfi, right? So that would be the next step for me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so I wonder if you guys have anything around. Yeah, so Melange is the thing that builds APK I'll use to build, right?
So yeah, Melange takes source and makes APKs.
Yeah.
And APKO slaps APKs into an image together. So
Yeah.
if you don't care about images, you don't need to use APKO for anything. But it sounds like you do.
So like I have an application, right? So my understanding is that I need to transform my application into an APK package so that I can put that within my Wolfi, for instance, right? So I'm trying to find a developer that will partner with me, but I want to try something. Like I said, I already have a Wolfi being built and publishing locally. I know I can push as well to a registry. Now my next step would be get my developer application and transform that into an APK. So I'm looking for some tutorials or something. Do you guys have any idea where I can find something?
We have a few Hello Melange APKO is the one I'm thinking of.
I saw one on edu.chengar.dev, getting started with Melange.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the other thing I was going to go find, but it sounds like you've seen it.
Yeah.
What language are you using for your application?
That's a good question, because we have different options. I don't know who will say, yeah, I want to join you. So I know we have some .NET stuff, and I know Ariadne said that the runtime stuff is not done yet. Still, for me to go all the way to the .NET stuff, I wanted to try to emulate a very simple application that I can simulate the process. So whenever the developer comes around, I can at least try to do it with him. So get some whatever hello world application and then transform that into a package and then put that into my Wolfi image.
Yeah.
Now it's just a lab.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do it now, I'm happy to do it live, and you have everyone who could possibly answer a question right here. So
I don't wanna cause you guys disturbance. You sure you wanna? Okay.
I want to
So
see Jason do this on the spot.
I mean, that's kind of why we're all here, is to help, you know,
We're creating traditions.
get
So-
people able to, you know, ask us in real time about, you know, what we're building. So
yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's give it a shot. A thing that I didn't know was that basically, are you saying this? Yeah. Anything that ends up at the end of a pipeline in targets Dester something will be at that location in your APK. So if you want a .NET application or a Python virtual env or a Go, this is a Go binary, but it ends up in targets Dester or whatever, and that makes it get into the APK. All the other steps are just stuff you do to build it. The fetch step is very common, and you can see it all over the Wolfi repo. Fetch this tar, untar it, ungzip it, check the SHA, and it's in the current workspace, and then you run go build on it or whatever.
So in this case, you have an applicant. Like, just sorry to ask
Yeah.
you.
No, please. That's
Sit
why
it
we're
down. So what I'm getting from here, reading very fast what you just have in there. The fetch in the bottom is because you're pulling gripe locally, and that you want to make gripe, which is already an existing application. You want to make gripe an APK package. That's the idea here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all this, the other thing that I should mention is the environment is the build environment. So in order to build this, you need Go, and you happen to also need BusyBox and CA certs to fetch anything off the internet and do all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then this just says get it from the Wolfi package repo. When I ask for Go, when I ask for CA certs, get them from the Wolfi package repo. And
yeah, I was going through the list of packages in Wolfi, and I saw that there are a bunch of whatever.yaml, like busybox.yaml. So I went in and I said, okay, these are the packages that we have available. Okay.
Yeah. We should have a better place to discover packages than this, but for now, this is probably the best source of truth we have. I only picked gripe because it's a very small one that I know how it works, but we could do, I don't know,
Jenkins. Could have a look at Jenkins.
Sure. Oh, yeah, there you go. It's pretty easy.
You can see, yeah, go on. You go for it.
Yeah, so this requires more things at build time and only requires this one only at runtime, but it does more or less the same thing, right? It fetches, it applies a patch, it exports stuff and does a Maven install. I guess it requires Maven to build Jenkins, which makes sense. I don't know anything at all about .NET, having not written a line of .NET in 17 years. So I don't know how to help. I don't know how to help in that case, but
That's fine. I think I mean, no, I'm not a .NET expert by no means as well, but if I can get the flow of how it works, I can try,
Yeah.
So the gripe one that you're doing the example before, yeah, this one is one available in the Git, right?
Yeah, this is just in the Wolfi OS, Wolfi Dev OS repo.
So how do you build this? Because you have the YAML, and I have like a Docker run example here that I got from like when I'm building the image. Is that the same process, sort of?
So the way that Wolfi currently builds is let's do push production. It runs in a GitHub action and sets up auth, and then runs make. Where is it? That's not very helpful. It runs make. Let's go look at the make file where the actual fun is. This is a bunch of setup and common flags. This is a macro or some other word for macro, just to say build these things, and then these are all the calls to that macro. So each one of these, let's look for gripe. Each one of these is corresponds to one package YAML over here. So this is build gripe 052-R1. You can see here 052 epoch 1. So if you do I have no text thing to write on, but like make packages x8664, right? I think is the command to run to do that. Yeah. If you run that, then it will execute that command in the repo with these flags. That also means that you could just do melange build gripe.yaml with these args and a source dir of, I don't exactly know how to read that, but yeah, what is this? This looks new to me. Where's the source dir come from, everyone?
James did it.
James has a feeling under that bus. Awfully quiet, suspiciously quiet.
Sorry, I lost my window and I couldn't see. But yes, so that was interesting. If you could look at the Postgres example and the function build package, if you search for Postgres in your makefile, sorry. Yes, and so what that does is it's a bit mysterious,
I see.
but it references a single source directory, because what we didn't want to do, in there is an entry script for Postgres, and rather than having duplicate folders of exactly the same file,
Yeah.
it just means we can reuse the same one. By default, the default behavior is a source directory will be used matching the package name that you're building.
Gotcha. So as an example, BusyBox has this directory. So when you build the BusyBox thing, then it will assume this directory.
Correct.
But as an override for Postgres, for the reasons you mentioned, it overrides that directory to the single shared Postgres directory, which is here.
Yeah, it's because the Postgres package names actually include a major version in there.
Right.
And that's the difference between them. Yeah.
I remember this now. It's all coming back to me. So, yeah. So to answer the question of how, once you have the YAML, how do you actually build it? The way that Wolfi is currently architected its build system is that you would do make packages, whatever, to run melange to do it, but you could also just run melange itself and do melange build, name of your YAML, whatever options. These are the options. And then a source dir or empty workspace, but usually you want some kind of source dir for things like patches, things like configs that you want to put into the APK.
What's interesting as well is if you want to build multiple packages, if your application or your package depends on another package, then you can also add a couple more flags, and we should probably put them in some docs somewhere if they're not already, by appending the appending repositories. So you can actually append a local work packages directory to a previously built APK that you have on your local file system. So what that means is you can build one APK, like an example, Maven, and then that will be locally, and then build something like Jenkins and use the locally built APK until you have a repository that you want to put all these in. It's just useful experimenting. For what it's worth, I wouldn't actually recommend building huge things locally, because some of these packages can require quite a good amount of CPU and memory. Yeah.
Yeah, and in order to run melange, you need to have APK available to you in your environment.
APK tools, right?
So if you don't have APK tools, then it's useful to run it inside the container that does. And
yeah, that's what I was doing when I was building the Wolfi and the Alpine, test I was doing. It was just a Docker run. And I was using the chain guard APKO that has the APK tools.
Yeah, that's usually I haven't maintained it in a while, so this probably doesn't work. But I had a little script that was like Docker APKO that packaged all the like obviated all the args to Docker to do that. I don't think that works anymore, but
it was just a Docker run and then -v, and then I passed a PWD work, and then the image that I'm using as a build, and then build the APK command, which is build, and then image YAML, and then what are the names I'm going to call them.
Yeah. It's basically the same for Melange. Melange also requires APK to fetch all the dependent packages, all of these. I guess Maven doesn't really depend on that much. That's weird.
That's an interesting one. If you want me to explain it very quickly,
sure. Yeah.
It's the only one that we've done. Certainly that I've done that isn't built from source. That's actually the binary, the Maven binary that we fetch.
Interesting.
Yeah. Compiling Maven from source, I believe that's quite complicated. It's involves lots of different repositories and things. Huh. So that that particular package is actually using a binary.
Interesting.
But the Gripe one was also using a binary.
It might be. I didn't do that with the Gripe one, but
Gripe is doing go build on the current directory. So like it fetches out the source. This is source.
Oh, gotcha.
And then does a go build in that source to produce this binary. But gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a bad thing about packaging Maven from a built binary?
I think it's, correct me from if I'm wrong, Ariadne, this all comes down to SBOMs, I guess, eventually when we want to describe the full dependencies and everything that we've got. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Eventually we're going to have to properly build Maven from source if we want to have high quality SBOM data for it. But for now, most distributions, they just go and fetch the binary. That's what Alpine does. I don't think that anybody's like really trying to build Maven from scratch, because it's an involved process from what I saw anyway. Yeah, exactly. Like everybody just pulls in the binary and
cool. But it's an exception in this case. Most of the times we should be building from source. Maven's weird.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. Nilsson, do you have any more questions or anything else we can help you with in the next 4 minutes?
No, I'm gonna try to let that sink in and try something in here, break my computer, and I'll come back.
Excellent. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I call to close the second Wolfi meeting. All right.
Thank you, guys.
sounds good.
See you, everyone.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.